I'm teaching the anatomy segment, the anatomy module in the training, and for someone like me, that's exciting. Anatomy is just, oh my goodness, I get to study the human body. That's been an interest I've had since, the first frog dissection in high school honors biology class. It's just, oh my God, this is great. But most people don't share that enthusiasm in terms of anatomy. And so in terms of yoga teaching, like the thing that I'm going to impart the most of is what I think is the most essential part of anatomy for yoga teachers, which is the anatomy of breathing. And people come into yoga classes with various issues that they want to have solved, right? I don't know how many times I've heard, I want to do yoga, but I have tight hamstrings. I need to stretch my hamstrings. Or, I want to do yoga because I want to have a nicer looking butt, or I want to have nice abs, or whatever it is, And it's the part of the anatomy that people see and think that's gonna make my life better to have long hamstrings. And the number one, actually most important muscle, I would argue, and which I'm going to focus on in the anatomy training, is your diaphragm, your breathing muscle. And nobody ever says, hey, I want to stretch my diaphragm, or hey, I want to make my diaphragm stronger. No one ever thinks like that. But when you're looking at progress in yoga can really be measured. One of the primary ways you can measure it is by the quality of your breathing. So in the anatomy module, we're going to really focus on that as our template to how then to talk about musculature and the skeleton. So we'll start with the diaphragm, how it moves, what it does, where it attaches on the skeleton, and we'll use that muscle to then describe what are the actions of muscles, how do they contract, how do they attach themselves to the skeleton, why the heck is that important if you're doing a moving practice? Why the heck is that important if you're a human who likes to move? What's the big deal? So since your breath is constantly moving, we'll talk about then, the movement aspect of the diaphragm, and it's not just the diaphragm, but then all the muscles that are surrounding, and that'll be our template to talk about everything else. If you don't have a functioning nervous system, no muscles are going to do anything, right? Unless you've got some machine shooting some impulses through you, nothing's going to happen. So we'll also talk about the gross part of the anatomy of breathing, and then as our template to discuss basic anatomy, what's the nervous system's role in that? And again, the breathing is your bridge. It's your bridge to understanding what mode of the nervous system you're operating in. Are you up-regulated? Are you in fight or flight mode? Are you more down-regulated? Are you in the rest and digest mode? That's the mode that we want to learn how to get into by will, right, and by practice. And that's accessed through your breathing mechanism. And again, the other thing about anatomy is I never learned anatomy by looking in a book and, diagramming muscles or anything like that. I learned anatomy through self-massage. So one of the components of how we'll actually learn is through learning how to feel the tissues with our own intelligent touch. And when you have places that are achy or painful, right, they steal your attention. So part of the way I learned where everything connects, and I learned about connective tissue and how to relieve knots and tension, that's how I learned anatomy, was through self-massage. So another component of our anatomy module will be learning through, actually feeling the anatomy in ourselves. We are the anatomy. We are the walking anatomy. So it doesn't do any good to leave it in our head or leave it on a page and on some exams, which you will have. But to actually be able to use intelligent touch on yourself to learn. That's how I learned.